Hey everyone, my guest today is Jeff Kildow, an Air Force veteran, aerospace engineer, and author of alternative historical fiction. Growing up listening to his father's World War II Army Air Corps stories, Jeff developed a lifelong passion for aviation and military history. After serving as a missile maintenance technician and earning an engineering degree, he spent over 30 years as an aerospace engineer. Jeff is an avid supporter of 5 aviation museums and has amassed a library of over 100 volumes on World War II aircraft. He has published multiple alternative fiction novels exploring what if scenarios from World War II, blending rigorous historical research with creative storytelling. Based in Colorado, Jeff enjoys sharing his expertise on World War II history, aviation, military service, and the craft of writing. Welcome to the show, Jeff. I want to thank you for being here today.
My pleasure. It's a delight.
Would you be able to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you're working on right now?
Certainly. I'm a retired aerospace engineer. I went through the Air Force for 4 years before I went to engineering school. Worked 34 years for the Lockheed Martin Corporation on a wide variety of very interesting things to do, and retired, the first time in 2004. They called me back and I worked again another 18 months and officially retired in 2006. And that's when I began seriously writing.
Yeah. How many books do you have out?
I have 3 books that are published and a 4th one that's waiting for a publication decision.
Okay, sounds good. And do you always write about like history, or is it a
Yes.
mixture? Okay.
But the genre that I write in is called alternative history. Are you familiar
Okay.
with that? If
A
not, I can
little.
quickly explain it.
Yeah, let's explain it for the audience. I think I know what you're talking about.
Sure. Okay. In a normal historical fiction piece, you have the history going along like we understand it. Let's say it's a piece in World War II, and you want to look at what Admiral Halsey was doing. So you create a fictional person and put that fictional person where he can interact with Admiral Halsey. Everybody knows it didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
But that lets you explore whatever ideas you had. And the history, when you get to the end of the story, hasn't changed.
Okay.
In the case of alternative history, I do a what if. Everything's going along like you know it. And then there's a place called the point of departure where my imagination takes over.
Okay.
Here's a quick example. In the book that recently was published called Nazi Menace, in real life, 1936, there was a German Luftwaffe general whose last name was Meyer. He was one of the few people that was a believer in long-range bombers. Well, in 1936, he had to go somewhere, and he jumped in an airplane without removing the control locks, and he was subsequently killed. So in my story, he isn't killed because in every bureaucracy, and heaven knows the Nazis were strong on bureaucracy, in every bureaucracy, if an idea, a concept has to have a sponsor, somebody that's going to push it, somebody that really believes in it, can gather support. That wasn't there because this man was killed in real life. So in my story, he's there, and that becomes a pivotal piece of the story.
Okay. That would be really fun because I feel like, throughout our lives, it's always like, oh, well, what if I would have done this? Or what if I wouldn't have done this? And you think about where you would be. So I imagine that's really fun to write that way.
It is. It is. Now, for myself, I put certain barriers on it because I'm writing about the World War II era. I'm very careful to stay within the technology of the times. There were some issues that came up. I'm an engineer by profession,
Okay.
So I could have solved them easily using modern day, but that's not what they had then.
Yeah.
So I had to figure it out. It took me quite a while to figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah, that would be, I don't know. I just can't imagine trying to write about technology in a different time. For one, I'm not great with it, but I was watching, lately I've noticed, and this is a little bit off topic, but I've noticed that some shows and movies seem to be based before, like in the 90s,
Mhm.
maybe a little bit later 2000s, before everyone had a phone in their pocket all the time.
Mhm.
And I think it's easier to kind of create an issue if you don't have a phone on you.
Oh my
I
goodness,
but
yes. Yeah. In all 3 of my books, that is a problem that, if they had had that kind of phone, they could have done things much better, much quicker.
Right. Yeah.
So
That's
communication is a real issue. It's surprising we take it for granted these days,
Yes.
you know, and it
Yes.
wasn't that way in our parents' and grandparents' time.
Yeah. I also think about this with, the kids growing up nowadays, that they're able to be in contact with people all the time, or, in an instant,
Mhm.
and you're expected to respond right away. Whereas, like, back then, like, just like what we're talking about, it could be days, it could be weeks before you get to
Mhm. Mhm.
communicate with somebody. A whole storyline has happened in that
Yes.
period of time.
Yeah.
You know yeah, it's
That's
just
right,
interesting.
and you have to work that into the story if you're writing a period piece.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it doesn't ring true, to
yeah,
anybody that knows.
yeah, I
And there's a cardinal rule in writing fiction, and that is that you never want to have the reader lose their willful suspension of disbelief. You ever heard that expression?
yes, but explain it for the
Okay.
audience, explain it.
Well, whenever we go to a movie, say, or watch something on TV or
Mhm,
read a book,
yeah,
we know it's probably not true unless we're reading history or something like that. We know it's not true,
right,
but we pretend like it doesn't matter. We
yeah,
suspend our disbelief, and if the author or the producer or whatever has done a good job, that remains. But here's the stickler for an author or an actor: if you lose that, you don't get it back.
right,
In the case of an author, if they're proceeding through your book and they see something that turns them off, or they say that can't happen, that isn't true, they'll
yeah,
throw the book aside.
yeah,
So you got to really pay attention to that.
yeah. Yeah, I suppose it's easier with, like sci-fi writing and stuff like that. But I notice myself if I'm watching a movie and it's like an action movie and it's too unrealistic, it's like
Mhm.
I'm done with
Yeah, see,
this.
exactly. They lost you. Yeah, with
Yeah.
some kind of impossible stunt or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I'm so very careful about the technology that I put in my stories,
Mhm.
because there's people out there that know a lot more about it than I do. And if they see it, I don't want to spoil a story for them on some item that I could have been maybe more resourceful on my research and made it correct
Yeah,
instead of assuming.
that makes sense. And I bet that takes quite a bit of time.
That takes a lot of research.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I love that.
I like research too. It's
Yeah.
yeah. Um all right. So how did your Air Force experience influence your writing and storytelling?
Well, I would say probably the biggest thing is it gave me a real life appreciation of how the military operates.
Okay.
Of course, every military around the world is a little different, but there are definitely commonalities across cultures, and that allows me to write anything like that in a realistic fashion.
That makes sense. You because I mean, you kind of want to write what you know, but then you want to explore other angles and
Mhm.
yeah. So what sparked your fascination with World War II aircraft and military history?
No, that's a good question. My dad was in the Army Air Corps in the Second World War. He wasn't in combat, but he had all kinds of stories about the airplanes that he saw. Where he
Mhm.
was in Alaska, for example, was one of the jumping off places for the Lend-Lease aircraft that went to Russia.
Okay.
So he, unfortunately, these pictures got lost, but he had a bunch of pictures that he took of American airplanes with Russian markings on them.
Oh,
That's really jarring to see, a P-51 or a B-25 with a red star on it.
yeah. Yeah.
And he told a story that I thought was pretty illustrative. One of the people on the base was able to speak with a Russian pilot who spoke a little bit of English,
Uh-huh.
and he asked him, "What do you think of the American airplane?" And the Russian said, "Russian airplane." It had a marking on it. It was his.
Yeah. Yeah. That tracks. So, can you share some of the most interesting World War II stories your father told you from the Army?
Oh yeah. For those that aren't aware, Alaska was very active during World War II. It's one of those forgotten war zones. Um,
Okay.
where my dad was stationed, which was near Anchorage, they never had any combat. All the combat happened down on the Aleutian chain. If you think of the map of Alaska, the Aleutian chain makes a long, like a comma, down from Alaska. Down at the end of
Okay.
that chain, the Japanese actually invaded. That was the only piece of U.S. territory in the world in World War II that was invaded. But he told his story. They were always afraid, with reason,
Uh-huh.
that the Japanese would fly in there and bomb their base. So they were
Okay.
always prepared. Now,
Okay.
his outfit
Makes sense.
was his outfit was C-47 transport planes, but they had a fighter group there,
Okay.
and one of the airplanes they had was a P-38, and this was one of those airplanes that was armed up and gassed up and ready to go if they needed to. And
Mhm.
he said in the middle of a quiet night, there was a short in one of the electrical systems in that
Oh, no.
airplane, and it started firing its guns.
Oh.
In the middle of the
Oh.
night, here's an airplane with 4 machine guns in its nose, and they're all firing.
Yeah.
And it fired until there was no ammunition left.
Oh,
It
that'd be
scared everybody to death. They went on
yeah.
alert. They were ready to launch airplanes. They were all sure they were under attack, and it was just
Yeah.
a mechanical mistake or
Oh my
electrical mistake.
gosh. Yeah. Yeah, that'd
Scared
be
them half to death,
horrifying.
too, he said.
Yeah, I would think we're under attack.
Yeah, you could. Why wouldn't you think that?
Right, right. I I'm assuming that they were pointed at an
Yeah,
area that were
nobody was hurt. Nothing was damaged. They fired off into an empty field, but
yeah.
that was fortunate. I mean, it could have been parked on the other side, and then it would have fired into other aircraft.
Yeah.
That really would have set things off.
Oh gosh, that would've been yeah.
Yeah.
So scary. I think I would lose it. We lost our power one night and our CO2 detector must have needed batteries or something because that was going off. And then we
Oh,
had just gotten some I don't want to say her name, but the Amazon robots, and they were going off and we'd never heard them go off before. And I thought I
wow.
thought there was some emergency, some major
I'll bet.
emergency happening. So yeah, guns firing off like that
In the
I'd
middle of
probably
the
have a heart
night, too.
attack.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it was
oh,
an amazing
yeah.
story.
I'm glad they were okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it wasn't
Uh,
all peaches and cream. One of his close buddies there was a radio operator on
uh-huh.
the C-47, which is like I said, it's a transport. It's a two motor transport designed to carry freight and soldiers. And
Mhm.
they would often fly from the base where he was near Anchorage down to those bases at the foot of the chain of Aleutians. And the weather up there is hideous, and especially along those trains. And there were a number of airplanes that just disappeared. Nobody has any idea whatever happened to them. They're just gone.
Mhm.
And the strain on the crews was incredible. They felt
Yeah.
like every time they were taken off, they were going to die. Not not dissimilar from how the crews felt in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah. So what inspired you to write the Menace series?
Well, there's there's a story I tell of myself. In the early 2000s, I'm a voracious reader. I read all the time, always have since I was a small kid.
Mm.
And I had picked up this paperback novel somewhere. I don't even know. I don't remember the name or the author, which is a good thing because I'm going to disparage it. It was so poorly written. About halfway through, I literally
Mhm.
threw it in a corner and said, "I can write better than that."
Yeah.
Oh, so I undertook to do that. And by the time I retired, uh, this would have been in 2006.
Uh-huh.
I had written about 30,000 words. And a friend of mine asked me if I was going to the conference, and I found out about a writers' conference that wasn't too far away. So I went to that, thinking, I had the world by the tail. I was really going along. And
Yeah.
I came meekly home and threw away more than 20,000 words. It was so bad.
Oh, no.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was guilty of, that it's terrible now that I realize it, but I had no idea then, is called head hopping. You ever heard that expression?
No.
Well,
No.
let's say you have a scene in your story where there's 3 or 4 characters that are interacting. In head hopping, each time somebody says something, you're looking at it from their point of view. Editors hate that. In any given scene, it should be just one person who has the point of view, and everybody reacts to that person.
Oh.
See, that's something you never notice. It's subtle, but when you know about it, it just jumps out and slaps you in the face.
Yeah.
So that was one of my biggest mistakes.
That's interesting. I'm just imagining how you do character development from that angle.
Oh, it's not hard. It's not hard.
Okay.
What I do once I've decided on the main characters, for each of the main characters, I write a short biography. And sometimes only 3 or 4 sentences, but it helps me to remember once I'm well into the story, where did I say he graduated from? You go back and look, or,
Yeah.
what was his experiences or something.
Yeah.
I made a really bad error that I was able to turn to an advantage. In the opening scenes of Nazi Menace, they take place in Nazi Germany in 1936, the same year that man was killed that I told you about, the real man. Okay. And so my hero and the guy that's going to be the protagonist clash, and it's going to haunt them for the rest of their lives. So I've got this, and now the hero in this case is a young Army pilot who's over there demonstrating a brand new airplane. Okay. And as I won't spoil the story, but the result of which is he gets sent home. And oops, suddenly I've separated my antagonist and protagonist by the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh.
Not a good thing to do when you're trying to. So it occurred to me, how am I going to do this? And it occurred to me, what would be the antithesis of the idealized Nazi man? Now, you may have seen some of their propaganda stuff, this tall, handsome, blue-eyed guy that's built like a muscle builder, that kind of stuff. What's the opposite of that? And after thinking about it a little bit, what I came up with was a crippled dwarf. Now, that's really risky stuff because during that time, those kind of folks, unfortunately, very sadly, were often sent to the camps.
Right.
But what I did for this character is I gave him 2 PhDs, and he became invaluable to them.
Yeah.
They couldn't afford to send him away. So because of that, he's able to poke the bad guy with comments and put him in his place, often in place of what I would be having the hero do if they were in the same locale.
Yeah.
I like the character so much he's in all 3 books.
Okay.
He's just fun to write.
Yeah. That's a cool way to create somebody. So so you have Red Menace, Nazi Menace, and Fourth Reich Menace.
Yeah, you got them slightly out of order. Nazi Menace comes first. Red Menace is second. Fourth Reich Menace is third. So respectively, it's World War II, the time of the Korean War. I don't talk much about the war itself, but that's the background. And then the third one is the 1956 Suez Canal crisis, which almost nobody remembers. I bet you never heard of it. Probably not.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, do you remember reading about the Russian invasion of Hungary, where they put down a rebellion?
Maybe.
That's what happened at the same time in 1956. And that's what most people remember. But
so that's why they don't remember this ways.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's based, the basic thesis of this is real now. This is actual history. This is for Fourth Reich Menace. Prior to 1956, there was a conspiracy between Great Britain, France and Israel
Okay.
regarding the Suez Canal, because Gamal Nasser, who's then president of Egypt, was talking about nationalizing the canal, which he eventually did. And the
Okay.
purpose of this conspiracy was to create a phony war. That was what Israel was going to do. And then to save the canal, France and Britain would jump in and, be the
Okay.
hero for the day.
Yeah.
And it was a very violent, very short war, less than 3 weeks. But I use that as a stepping off place, and just to have fun, I threw in some neo-Nazis.
Okay.
That's where the Fourth Reich comes in.
Yeah. 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 It just makes an interesting way to re-explore history too. We learn about these things, a lot of these things in elementary school, and
Mhm.
I feel like you can't really appreciate history at that young of an age. I wish we learned about more of this stuff and maybe in high school.
Yeah, it should really be in high school. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced that most history classes are completely taught wrong. There's too much emphasis on names and dates,
Yeah.
and not on actual people and what was actually going on and why things came about.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
I have noticed that where if I like in college, if we did study a particular incident, um that I'm picking up more on like the reasons for it, and also kind of the manipulation involved
hmm
with getting people to be on board with the war, or
hmm whatever it is. Yeah.
whatever they're doing.
hmm
Yeah, I took a religion class because that was required, and it was like,
hmm
oh, actually, you learn some stuff that you never
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
about before. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not sure I
Yes.
completely subscribe to the idea that people that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. But I do like the quote that Mark Twain made. He said, "History may not repeat, but it rhymes." Don't you like
Yeah.
that? It just kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a really cool way to think about it,
I thought so
actually.
too. I love it. I use that quote a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna you go first, and then I
Okay, I,
have
I
another
was going
question.
to explore a little bit about the first book, Nazi Menace.
Yeah.
Um, it happens during World War II, and
Uh,
once, like I told you, the hero. No, that's wrong story. Uh,
okay.
most of it takes place here in the United States, which made my research a lot more difficult than I expected when I started on it. There's just not a
Okay.
whole lot written about what it was like to be, you know, in the homeland when everybody was off fighting. And so I
Yeah.
had to do some
Yeah.
research on that, and it came up with things like in the course of events, I have the hero buy a car, and
Okay.
he's buying it from a doctor.
Okay.
So what? Big what? Because gasoline was severely rationed then, but doctors had a gas ration decal that went on their windshield that said they
Oh.
could buy gas because remember in those days doctors made lots of home calls, and they were almost the first responders in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
And so, but when this guy buys the car, that sticker has to come off right away because it's
Yeah.
illegal for a non-physician to have it.
Yeah.
See, that's something that a lot of us never thought. I never thought about that before.
No. I never I remember hearing about food rations. I never even
hmm
thought about gas rations or
And
yeah.
here's one for you. I have so much fun with this when I do book signings.
Uh-huh.
When the war got started, World War II, the government took all the supplies of quality silk. And they used them for more than just parachutes. There lots and lots of uses for silk. So
Okay.
there's no silk available. So what does a young lady about to get married do for a wedding gown?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
What yeah, what would she wear? I guess
rayon,
rayon.
because it's made from cellulose, which is plant waste.
Okay.
It's sawdust, it's corn husks, it's whatever you had that was plant life.
Yeah.
And when
Wow.
I took a trip to the little town in South New Jersey called Millville. That's a real
Okay.
name. I mean, it sounds like Andy
Millville.
Griffith, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but when I was there, uh, I got to go through the town museum, which was
Mhm.
it was a treasure trove for somebody doing research like I was.
Yeah.
And one of the docents there told me that during the war, whenever a shipment of rayon came in and it had anything white in it, the
Yeah.
word spread through the town, and there would be lines around the block from from girls who were getting married or hoping they would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
They bought it up in advance, and it would sell out within hours.
Yeah.
And so that's you never think
Wow.
about that. We take it for granted you can go buy what you want.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have access to so many things and we don't appreciate it. Did
Hmm.
did those dresses look like your normal wedding dress, or were they a little bit
Yeah, yeah.
different?
They
Or
they yeah. It can
yeah,
be made into any kind of a costume that you would
yeah,
want. And yes,
interesting. Yeah, there's so many things that it don't get taken into consideration that what you're limited on, I guess. I mean, now we
well,
think about gas and,
mhm.
oil and everything, but
I have a
yeah.
scene in the book where the hero, he's met the lady that's going to be the primary lady in the story, and
Uh-huh.
they double date with another couple, and they go to a restaurant,
Yeah.
and the other three are all civilians, and say that so they all have to use their ration cards,
Oh.
but he
Yeah.
has to pay a full price because as a active duty military guy, he got rations on the base.
Yeah.
So he wasn't in the system.
Okay.
So, that you can imagine
Wow.
how awkward that would be. You'd have to have separate checks and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting, the different situations you can get yourself into or, yeah, I mean, that had to take so much time researching all of
Oh
this.
yeah, it was a lot of fun though. I
Good.
mentioned that I went to Millville. I spent a week there. Uh,
Uh-huh.
During World War II, there was a Millville Army Air Force field at Millville, and there's still
Okay.
a museum there, and that's where I spent a lot of my time. So I had the fascinating opportunity to meet with two of their docents, um,
Yeah.
both of whom were World War II veterans. Sadly, both of them have passed since then.
Mm.
But I was astonished. When I started out writing this story, I thought,
Uh-huh.
well, I need an air base somewhere between Washington, D.C. and New York City. And
Yeah.
I had been in southern New Jersey, and I know it's great farmland, it's flat, and a great place to build an airport. So I
Yeah.
had fictionally created a town and an airport. And then I found out
Nice.
about Millville. I was like, wow. Well, then when I went there and was able to interview this one guy who was a retired Army Air Corps colonel,
Uh-huh.
it turned out that he was almost the living example of my hero that I had already written about. Just like my hero, he
Wow.
was stuck stateside. He was a gunnery instructor. That was my story there. And he
Yeah.
was trying as hard as he could to be sent to Europe. And eventually, the
Wow.
real guy actually did end up in Europe. And
Oh, he did?
he was assigned to a fighter squadron flying out of England. And he flew with an extremely famous aviator, a man named Gabby Gabreski, who was the highest count ace of World War II. And this man that I interviewed flew on his wing, which is a very prestigious
Wow.
place to go. It was so stunning though to realize this real life person was what I
Yeah.
had basically written. I changed it
Yeah.
actually to match him,
Okay.
and he appears in the story.
That's so cool.
It was
Y
fun.
yeah. Ho how many people were stateside versus in Europe?
Oh
Or
well,
roughly, obviously.
I hmm, I would guess probably 60% or more of the military age males were in
Uh-huh.
the service. Now you have to understand that not every male went to war. There was a
Uh-huh.
large contingent who physically were unable. For example, if you had flat feet,
Yeah.
you can't go in the army because you can't march.
Yeah.
that was
Bug just
nice.
hit my head. I'm
And then
recording.
and there are
Yeah.
people like my late father-in-law. He had a draft deferment
Uh-huh.
because his specialty was installing high tension power lines, and
Yeah.
he went all through the South during the war, wiring up air bases as they built them.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, when you've
And
got
see,
a
that was
role
a
like
special
that.
skill. You can't just
Yeah.
get somebody off the street to do that,
Right. Right, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah,
And,
sorry. Do you have those Asian beetles where you're at?
no, thankfully.
There. So my light, it attracts them,
Yeah.
and I am in a two-story house, and it's older, and
Uh,
they're just dive
uh,
bombing me, so I'm gonna have to figure out once it gets
uh,
warmer out, they'll leave me alone,
we
but
get moths late in the summer.
oh,
Same
okay.
deal. They're everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh gosh.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you about my sponsors real quick.
Sometimes I get on a roll cleaning or gardening, and I need a boost but don't have time for a meal. Big Fork Brand's pork jerky is the perfect choice to keep my momentum, offering high-protein snacks for on-the-go energy boosts. Not only do they offer pork jerky, but they also make pork sticks, bacon sausage, bacon hot dogs, and burger and hot dog sauces. Products come in a variety of delicious flavors, including Thai green curry and maple and brown sugar for the meat options, and gangster and Chicago fire for the sauces. I personally think the original flavor of the pork jerky hits just right after tackling a big chore. It's a little salty and very flavorful. My discount code gives you 20% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit bigforkbrands.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover, or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Looking for a game-changing way to improve your health? Zevo Life is the world's most nutrient-dense whole plant, packed with over 50% plant protein, essential amino acids, fiber, and antioxidants. Harnessing the best nature has to offer, Zevo Life nourishes your body while driving your performance, vitality, and overall well-being. Each serving is a concentrated source of clean, well-balanced nutrition designed to support modern lifestyles, and just 1 teaspoon a day supports your gut, boosts energy, and promotes healthier skin and hair. It's no wonder that it's receiving rave 5-star reviews. Step into a healthier future with a 30% discount and a 30-day risk-free guarantee by visiting zivo.life and using my promo code. To support my show and to receive 30% off your entire order, enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. So what are some of the common misconceptions people have about World War II aircraft and military technology?
Well, I find a lot of people your age and younger think that those aircraft were very crude, and they
Uh,
absolutely were not. One of the things that I have done to make my stories authentic, this is the tip for any listeners.
okay.
If I wanted to describe a particular aircraft in detail, I get a copy of the pilot's handbook. Now, it turns out that
Oh,
there's a little mini industry of people that collect those original ones and then make them into high quality copies. And so that's what
okay.
I've done in several cases. And you'll find out that those airplanes were extremely complex. And
Yeah.
it's astonishing that they could do what they did without computers.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
astonishing they could fly long distances and find small targets and, you know,
Yeah.
maintain this extremely complex machine and make it do what it was supposed to do. And
Yeah.
realize that most of the people that were doing this flying were young men, 25 and under.
Right.
And some
Right.
of them were still teenagers. I
Yeah.
mean, 18 and 19-year-old fighter pilots were not uncommon. I mean, they
You
had
know,
great
it
eyesight. They had
yeah,
great reaction times, you know.
I suppose yeah, that's a good point. You
But think
know,
about this. In the era that we're talking about,
yeah.
a typical automobile had maybe 85 horsepower. Okay, we're putting these kids in airplanes with 1,000+ horsepower.
Wow. It's
It's amazing, isn't it?
yes, yes, I'm trying to picture someone that age now with that much
Yeah,
doing
that
all
much
that and
responsibility. It's
right,
astonishing. Yeah.
I don't know. There's not very many I think that could handle that anymore, like,
I don't know.
today's
Maybe
kids
they
are
could if they
I
were
don't
put
know.
in the right circumstance, you know.
True.
Yeah.
I could see
I'm,
that, I'm sure.
uh,
Yeah. It's good
but
to get that discipline young, you know?
yeah, yeah.
So,
Oh, absolutely. Hmm.
it's just crazy to think of how much responsibility they had, on their hands for
Hmm.
that. So,
Hmm.
yeah. So, what goes into building accurate scale models of World War II aircrafts?
Well, first of all, you have to find somebody that makes a kit of it,
Uh,
which is sometimes not easy to do. There's a particular German airplane I'm looking for right now that I simply can't find.
oh.
Um, and then you have to do the research of what unit are you depicting, because
Mhm.
different units. And I'm talking. This is not just American or German. It's British. It's Japanese. It's Italian. Anybody that
Okay.
had airplanes flying then had their own organization style and their own markings on the airplane. And
Okay.
so, if you're going to do an authentic copy of somebody's airplane, you better do some pretty serious research on it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's going to look glaringly wrong to somebody that knows.
And I mean, that sounds a little bit different today. I don't know a lot about it, but it seems like the Boeing aircraft everyone has that. The other countries are
Oh, I see what
buying
you
those as
say.
well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Almost all of the advanced nations in World War II built their own airplanes. So
Wow.
that would be United States, Canada had an
Yeah.
active aircraft industry. Britain, of course, Germany, France,
Yeah.
Poland built some fantastic airplanes early in the war. Japan, Italy, they're some of the most gorgeous looking airplanes and incredible technology that they had. Japanese were incredibly creative,
Mhm.
sometimes to their own detriment, but
Oh, no.
you know, yeah. So here's the other thing you need to realize: even though those airplanes were extremely complex, they're not that complex compared to what we have today. The
Okay.
structures are not a whole lot different in the way they're designed.
Yeah.
It's all the equipment, the computers, and all the equipment that goes into making a modern day airplane. You know,
Yeah.
like the Boeing 787, which is almost, what is it, 60% composite materials, not metal,
Okay.
which makes it much lighter and stronger. You know, that
Yeah.
that that was impossible to do in that period of time in World War II.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I don't know, sometimes I think, a lot of this technology uh, complicates things and
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
uh, maybe isn't always the best, but, in that case, that the composite material sounds like obviously a better option than
Yeah.
before.
It's amazing. And there are composites being made today that'll fly into space.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
which okay, so you were an aerospace engineer?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm assuming that helped also with your writing on aircraft and
Oh yeah. Oh
technology.
yes.
Yeah.
Just to be clear here, uh, I have a degree in aerospace engineering, but the only thing different back when I got my degree between that and aeronautical engineering was two courses in orbital dynamics. So I was
Wow.
trained most of my stuff on airplanes, so I know
Yeah.
airplanes pretty well.
Yeah. Jeez, that's
And of course, I
crazy.
never touched an airplane my whole career. It's all been
Yeah.
spacecraft, but that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I went to school for science related things and I'm like, you have labs, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff where it's like, I never actually did this
Mhm.
certain things. but I can talk to you about it. Um, okay, I guess we kind of talked about the building accurate scale models, like you use
hmm
those pamphlets, use or
Well, they're books.
the books.
Oh yeah, they're
Oh,
very
okay. So now I'm picturing more of like a phone book type thing that
well, not quite that bad, but
okay.
I have a pilot's manual here beside me right now that I'm using for my work in progress.
Okay.
It's about 200 pages, but it's
Okay.
highly detailed. And since it's a pilot's manual, it's oriented to the pilot. He has to understand everything about the flight controls. But
Yeah.
since he's the aircraft commander, he also has to have at least a basic understanding of all the other subsystems like radio and navigation and armament and
Yeah.
things like how to control and distribute oxygen, for example, when you're flying at altitude. Those
Yeah.
those systems were all manual. You know,
Yeah.
today we just tickle a keyboard with a few strokes and it would go off and
Yeah.
happen. But then you had to configure switches and knobs and valves
Yeah.
in a certain sequence.
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh.
it was very complex. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine it would have to be very, very detailed. Not your vacuum cleaner
No,
instruction
no,
manual.
not your vacuum cleaner. And it's interesting looking back. You can see that there were problems with the some of the commanding generals and high
Uh-huh.
officers who were not current in the late model airplanes, and they couldn't
Okay.
understand why a pilot couldn't jump from one airplane and run and jump in another one and make it go. Because a pilot's a pilot, right?
Yeah.
No, not when you have to have this
Oh,
technical background to fly it
yeah.
safely.
Wow. Yeah. I was I was picturing people in air jumping from airplane to
Oh, no, no,
airplane
no,
while you're
no.
saying that.
That never occurred to me. That would be pretty tricky too.
Yeah.
You might have trouble getting volunteers for that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The places my mind goes.
I love it. Sure you're not a
Oh.
writer?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I think so. I think about when we were talking about what goes into writing a book. I like to write, but then I know that there's a lot more into it than just starting to type stuff out. You've
Mhm.
got to yeah, it's just I don't know, different than a research paper.
Mm.
So I had a professor tell me I sound like a dictionary with my writing, and it's like, well, it's research. I'm
Yeah.
informing you, right? Like, isn't this?
Oh, that's interesting. You touched on something that I had to really work on. After 34 years as an engineer and writing technical reports all the time,
Yeah,
they're all written in the third person. It
yeah,
was observed that you don't write fiction that way.
right, yeah.
And I
So
find myself even now, after all these years, I find myself once in a while drifting off into that. Whoops, back up, you know, make it people oriented.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, he was telling me like I was told he wanted like what I felt like were these long, flowy, like pretty sentences. And in my mind, I'm like, well, but this is research. Like this is supposed to be informative. But with writing books that you want your audience to enjoy and writing stories, yeah, the sentence structure has to change. I imagine
Yes.
that was hard to
Yeah, it
make
was.
that switch over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
confess it was hard. And some of my early work shows it.
Really.
Yeah.
See, and I probably would like it that way. I like things straightforward.
Mhm.
But all right, what advice would you give to aspiring authors interested in writing historical or alternative fiction?
Okay. There's a cardinal rule in my book. If
Uh-huh.
you're going to write alternative history, you have to know the actual history cold because you're going to make changes to it and you got to make sure you know what the situation was when, whatever it is, whatever time it is, what's going on, what's the political situation,
Yeah.
is there a war or is there some other kind? There's always conflict because you don't write a story without conflict in it. But what kind of
Yeah.
conflict is it? What kind of people are you involved with? Are these highly educated people or are they, to use a term, peasants? What's in between?
Mhm.
What's the goal? What are you trying to achieve? So you
Yeah.
really have to know that stuff cold on what actually happened then you can step in, but you have to make sure that where your point of departure that I just talked about earlier is
Mhm.
believable in itself.
Right. Right.
Now, there are some alternative histories out there, I don't care for them particularly, that involved aliens or time travel or that kind of thing,
Yeah.
and they lose me as soon as that happens,
That's
you know?
yeah, for some reason, I'm the same way. I'm not really interested in that. I'll I'll read Harry
I want the
Potter and
story to
some other
hold
stuff.
together, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll read some things, the certain stuff like that, but then once you get time travel and
Yeah.
and aliens, I'm gone.
I like science fiction, but I want it to be science fiction. I don't want it to pretend to be alternative history, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, you don't wanna mix the 2.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
S
that's the first thing, and then just make sure that you have a believable story,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
Like I said, I limit myself to the technology of the era, and
Yeah.
that as an engineer, that frustrates me sometimes because that's some of the stuff that was problems then are a snap now,
Right.
to resolve, but I have to do it the way they did it. And
Yeah.
remember, they did all of that stuff with slide rules.
Yeah.
Oh, that nasty bug.
I
He likes
yeah,
you.
critic. Yeah, jeez, my goodness. Yeah, well, and again, I think that I'm sure that that adds a lot of interesting parts to the story, like, just, as someone who doesn't know the technology that well, that in itself, just learning how they had to do things differently while
Mhm.
you're reading would be interesting.
And that's a challenge for me because
Mhm.
I know how they did it. I know what they had to know and how they had to learn it. I have to be
Yeah,
very careful I don't either assume that the reader knows something
yeah,
or that I over explain it.
right, yeah, that makes
I'm not
sense
trying to
too.
give a technical treatise. I'm writing a story. All I want to do is set the background so that the reader
Yeah,
understands, what they're up against.
yeah, yep, that makes sense too. Okay, so what are some lesser known World War II stories or aircraft that more people should know about?
Oh my.
I know we talked about the Suez Canal, but
Mhm.
is there anything else that you feel like was missed that people kind of just don't remember or
Well,
didn't even learn
it,
about?
I think it's astonishing from our picture today to look at how quickly they did things. I'm speaking from on the American side.
Mhm.
Uh, it's typical these days for a fighter aircraft, for example, to spend anywhere from 15 to 25 years in development before it's ready to go to the service that's going to operate it. That's a
Yeah.
long time. And one of the problems they have with that long time is things go obsolescent while you're doing the process and you have to go back and catch up. Now,
Mhm.
let me draw a contrast with that. An airplane that all World War II airplane that almost everybody knows is the P-51 Mustang. Beautiful, beautiful airplane. And it was designed and flown from the first sketch to the first flight in a little over 100 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fast.
People even then were amazed. And the
Yeah.
fact that there's still a couple of hundred of them flying is astonishing in itself.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic airplane.
Yeah.
But the
Um
people that designed them were seasoned veterans. I won't start name dropping, but most of, most of the serious designers in World War II cut their teeth in the 1920s. Some of them, like Glenn L. Martin of the Martin Airplane Company,
Uh-huh.
they were built. He was building seaplanes before World War One.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing by the time World
Yeah.
War II came along.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
That makes sense.
And, others like Claude Boeing of Boeing Aircraft, same kind of thing. Jack
Mhm.
Northrop, uh, the Lockheed brothers. There's
Yeah.
there's a long list of guys. I said I wasn't going to make a list, but
But you did yeah,
but
that's
I did
okay.
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
that's
all
alright.
those people were well experienced. I mean, it wasn't like they were sitting down to a blank sheet of paper and, gee, how do
Yeah.
I do this? They
Yeah.
knew, and they knew from a lot of cases from hard experience. You know, the,
Yeah.
they didn't have the ability to analyze an aircraft structure like we can today, and that often resulted in something being overbuilt because
Okay.
they weren't sure how to analyze a certain aspect of it, so they made it extra strong just to make
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. That I mean, that makes sense.
Mhm.
So, can you tell the audience a little bit more about your book that's coming out?
Well, it's Nazi Menace.
Okay.
It takes place during the Second World War. Like I said, a lot of it takes place right here in the United States in Millville, New Jersey, where I talked about it.
Okay.
Uh, and the action that happens is that this character that I told you that in real life died in 1936 and didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, he has survived to convince the Nazi hierarchy to build long-range bombers,
Mm.
and they actually fly across the Atlantic and bomb New York City. And this is only a few months after Pearl Harbor. So you can
Okay.
imagine what that impact was
Yeah.
on the population. I really had to talk that up because I think people might not appreciate it. This happens about 15 months after Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
But by that time, there were still congressional investigations going on into why Pearl Harbor happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that
So
makes
it
sense.
was a raw wound. It
Yeah.
would be like 15 months after 9/11, there was another major attack like that. That's the same kind of
Yeah.
attack.
Yeah.
So I had to be careful that I treated that properly. I didn't want to treat it lightly at all. And
Yeah.
then the response, and I had some fun there too because I know a little bit about how the military works. Some of the responses were wrong, not
Oh,
out of deliberateness or incompetence, simply
right.
a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
You know,
That makes
and
sense.
I throw in some new technology that really baffles the Americans for a while,
Oh,
and
really?
that's fun. Yeah, trying to show how they overcome that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have another series of scenes where there's a saboteur
Uh,
that's sabotaging aircraft engines in such a way that they can't be detected.
oh,
Now that
that
was
would be
fun. I came up with the idea, and then I found a guy who actually works on those old engines. There's a small industry that supports warbirds around the country, and they
okay.
use their original engines wherever they can. And so I told him what my idea was, and he loved it. He said, "Yeah, that would absolutely." Where I'm not going to tell you what it was. You gotta
Yeah.
you gotta read the book.
Yeah.
But it was subtle enough that it could go undetected until it was disastrous. So that was
Okay.
fun. They had to work around that. That's
Yeah.
one of the things you have to do in a novel. You have to create problems that can be solved.
Right.
That moves
Right.
the story along. Oh, and
I
I wanted to be
imagine
sure and tell you,
yeah.
for your listeners, all of my stories have strong women in them. And
Nice.
especially in this first book, this is where my hero meets who is going to eventually be his wife. And
Okay.
he thinks she's only a school teacher,
Okay.
but she's much
She
more.
she's much more.
Much more.
Nice. I like the
And
suspense.
the other comment I make is this that makes me different
Mhm.
from a lot of authors out there that write this genre or any even similar genres. Um,
Yeah.
there's no bad language in my books, and there's no
Okay.
compromising no sex.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've
Yeah.
I've literally I've literally given a copy of my book to my pastor, and he
Oh,
liked it.
yeah. Yeah.
So
It's nice when you can create an interesting story without having to add that
you don't
to
have
it.
that's exactly right. I couldn't see looking back at my stories. I couldn't see where any of that would add anything to the story. It's just
Right.
not necessary.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times it's not. And then sometimes people add those scenes into their stories or, whether it be books, TVs, or movies, and it's like, where did
Why
this come
is
from and why is
Yeah?
this in
Why is
here?
this here? What does it add to the story?
Yeah.
Usually nothing. It's
Right.
gratuitous, to use a word.
Yeah. So, where can people find your books?
My books are available right now at amazonbooks.com.
Okay.
Um, we are working to get Latte Menace into Barnes and Noble.
Okay. Yeah.
Your listeners and watchers may know that Barnes & Noble almost went bankrupt back in the early 2020s, and they were bought by a British firm, and they changed all
Oh,
the rules on how to get a book into their system. So we're
really?
having to work through that. But hopefully within the next couple of months we'll break down that barrier. And my other two books are available. That's what
Uh-huh.
makes this so frustrating. Red
Yeah.
Menace and Fourth Reich Menace are available at Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
So I don't understand the logic there.
Yeah.
And the other side of that same coin, another one of my favorite authors is Clive Cussler. And you
Okay.
could usually find half a dozen or more of his books.
Yeah.
So I don't get it, you know?
We need to crack the code.
Yeah, and we haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and also when I go in there looking for books, if they don't have them, they'll offer to order them. But I'd
yes.
rather just order them from the author's website to help support them if they're a lesser known artist, that
Mhm.
or author. Just to
But
I
my
don't know if it.
website is jeffkildow.com.
Okay, perfect. I will
Yeah.
make sure to include that in the show notes.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for asking.
yes, yes, I like to promote the actual
I
website.
appreciate
So
that. Yes.
yeah, so jeffkildow.com. Is
Mhm.
there anything else you'd like the audience to know?
Oh my. Read more, buy more
Read more.
books.
Yeah, I
Actually, I've
agree.
seen some pundits that think that books are going to go away, but I think that's not the case.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I can't see that. Maybe people aren't reading as much now, but I personally, I sleep better. I'm much more peaceful. I have a much more peaceful mind if I spend, even if it's just one chapter a day, just
Hmm.
get that chapter in before you go to
Hmm.
bed or something. It's much
Well,
better
I've
than
made
staring
sure
at your
all my
screen.
grandkids learned to read early and made sure they had books to read. So I'm
Yeah,
trying to do my part.
good, good. So, sounds good. All right. Well, it was a pleasure to speak with you
It
today.
was delightful, Sam. Thank you. It
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yes. Good, good. I will keep in touch with you about everything, about the episode and the clips. And
Great.
oh yeah, and yes, you wanted the audience to know that
Oh,
that you had a
that thing on my nose is okay. It's just a minor procedure that I had. It just looks terrible. It's okay.
it's it's really not that bad from the
No, okay.
screen.
It just seems huge to me.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right. Well, yeah, thank
Thank
you
you
very
very
much for
much.
being on, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Yeah.